Ready, Mac?
30 seconds.
You're good to start. Yes, slide.
Okay, in the matter of an abatement for property owned by Seth Hall. Yeah, what is it, 970 Main Street?
Yes, right
Yes.
across from the library.
Yes. And any discussion?
I think you received the latest abatement request.
Yes.
And I hope that at least the two of you received the background information I sent out last night. The rest of the board.
I did.
That was a long conversation about this.
Made some pleasant reading this afternoon.
I hope it was illuminating because there does seem, I had spoken with former Chairman Jan Riesenbrock a couple of months ago when I was waiting for this abatement form, and he said it was very unclear that these are actually two, to him at least, there were two code enforcement actions and they're not directly related. One was closed, one was open, and it wasn't clear to me that the board saw it that way. It certainly wasn't clear to him until he got all the information together. So it seems like there's a lot of confusion.
Okay, to the matter at hand, then the settlement itself, the fine was $5,400. Or fine, I'm not fine. Assessment was $5,400, and you're offering to settle for $500.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
That just FYI, that was the amount that Stan Waltz suggested I offer the board. Before the spring renewal of the fine was raised back from the former 27, it was cut in half briefly, well, for 6 months, and it was raised up again. For reasons that are clear to me, I guess because I challenged it or appealed it.
Mhm.
And Stan said, why don't you $500 just for the time and trouble. I thought that was a reasonable thing under the circumstances.
Okay, I call the questions. Will somebody take a motion? Will somebody offer a motion?
I will. I know I looked at all those YouTube videos, I read all those letters. I certainly, I make the motion that we abate $4,900 as requested by Seth Hall.
Any second?
I'll second it for purposes of discussion. But I do think we have to make it clear. The town isn't writing a check to Seth Hall.
Correct.
The town's writing a check to Main Title Services LLC.
That's who paid it,
They're the folks who paid
right?
the tax bill and the penalties that were assessed under that bill.
I'm assuming we reimburse them and then they'll reimburse you.
That's between him and them.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think we note for the record, this fine is, whatever you want to call it, has disappeared. It's been paid. So we're simply discussing whether or not something ought to be abated and
Understood.
given back to the Main Title Services. And how they handle it with Mr. Hall is up to them.
So I'm concerned that process is fine.
Okay.
It seems unduly complicated, but I don't want to reject about it. My assumption is I'll just copy a check, write a check.
Okay, all in favor? You're batting 1,000.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I do sort of editorially want to say, I'm sorry it took so long. It just seems like the communications was incredibly complicated and fractured. And I asked Stan to be here tonight just in case you needed him, because we have all of these texts and everything about the dates and times and so forth. I don't know how it got so complicated other than that my relationships with the town seem to be complicated. And I'm very glad we could put this. It's more than worth $500, even though I still contest that. We're done with it at this point.
Well, congratulations on selling the house.
Yes, I don't know anything about the guy who bought it. A guy, well, I know his name is Miller. He's a pharmacist from, I forgot the name of the town in Florida. And my impression, he's fairly well heeled. He's already immediately started working on it. He seemed pretty excited about it. Les Foster, the rehab specialist, yeah. He actually was the inspector. He told him, "You sure you want to do this?" And he said, "Absolutely." So I hope that's why I bought the house. Run down of the street, and I consider my mission accomplished. It took a little bit of time.
Well, I'm all in favor of what you've done, which is to take a derelict property and flip it.
Yeah, I'm sorry it took so long, such as it is, doing lots of other things. So we finished?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Just need to make a motion to adjourn from Board of Assessors.
I make that.
Oh, wait, maybe you don't want to. Do you want to run and get Daryl?
Yeah, sure.
Take one down, pass it around. I mean, I guess it's more of a, like, I don't know if it's a Board of Assessors or Select Board, but it's talking about the mill rate. But since we have time, maybe Daryl would like to say something about it.
Done this sensitivity analysis.
Is it okay if we do this during Board of Assessors?
Okay.
Okay. You need your copy?
Nope.
Right, he just got shaken now.
I haven't said a thing. I just handed out the paperwork and said, go get Daryl.
So you're suggesting alternatives for a mill rate for fiscal year 2024.
So the choices you have, we were at 14 last year.
Yeah.
If you went to 16 up 2 mills, you would be an overlay of 309,000. And then you can lower it on down as far down as you want to go and overlay. 15.6 is as low as you can go pretty much, and that's a $21,000 overlay. So those are your options.
Okay. For our two new members, could you explain the concept of overlay?
Overlay is just to help round out tax figures, and they allow up to 5%. So there are towns that don't take advantage of overlay to raise additional revenue. There are other towns that try to raise it to the max. That money goes into undesignated, and then next year you have it available if things go up or down. I did give you the chart. We'll show you what the overlay has been over the years. Waldeboro hasn't generally raised a lot of overlay, but on occasions we have.
Now, how is that overlay calculated? I see, I guess it's 16%, 0.0016.
So
And
once you take your value and divide it into what you need for revenue, it gives you on line 17, the minimum tax rate is 15.57.
okay,
And then with the 5%, you can go up as high as 16.3.
I see. Gotcha.
So the maximum overlay is $560,000 that you can raise over and above what is needed to be available for future use.
So the appropriation for fiscal year 2023 was $9,810,000. I'm looking on the big sheet here. Am I reading that correctly?
So yes, those are the total
So
appropriations.
that's the number we have to cover last year in order to
Pay the bills.
be able to pay for it. Yeah. And a mill rate of 14% allowed us, sorry, 14, not 14%. A mill rate of 14 allowed us to do that. So for fiscal year 2024, the appropriation, if I'm reading this correctly, is higher by, is that line
19,
19?
depending which rate you choose.
Yeah, 10,968,000, which is
Yes.
about $1 million higher, $1 million plus higher. And so that's the gap we're trying to cover with an increased mill rate. And we can just cover it by going to what, 15.5 roughly, is
Yes,
that right?
15.6.
Or we can do a little more by an incremental increase in the mill rate to say 15, 7, 8, 9, 16.
Okay, I'm a little confused. Is this a sensitivity analysis? Where
Yes.
The first page, second page,
They're
third page are all
sensitivity
different
analysis.
scenarios?
They're all just done.
Okay.
So you see the different rates. If you pick a rate. The only thing that would change the finance, the TIF was figured at 16 on that first page is 95,000. Under line 9 for your TIF, that was figuring it at. And I didn't go in and recalculate that based on the lower rate. So that number would lower if you lower the rate. And you'd have a little more overlay than is shown here, but I did not put that calculation in.
Okay, so
That would be the only number that would change on the front sheet if you.
Yep.
See a little change there.
What is the share of, what is Waldeboro's share of the RSU 40?
So. Do you know that, Julie?
30+%.
30+%, so that if this $80 million bond goes through, then you're roughly an $8 million annual payment, and we would be responsible for
Well. I think we,
24% of the 2.4 million a year.
I think we gotta wait and see. We don't even know what those interest rates are. I mean. They're gonna come to the meeting in August. I invited them to the meeting in August. They're gonna come.
I'm just
Yeah, ballparking.
I'm ballpark spitballing it, yeah.
Yeah, but you're
What's-
bringing up
what's
that
that?
important point is, should we be acting on this now or should we wait until after that meeting?
Exactly.
Then we got to get the tax bills out, so we don't want to delay it.
Well, I mean,
Well, it's gotta get voted on too.
it's gotta get voted on.
That's right. Well, sorry, they've already voted on this in June.
No, they did
No,
not.
no, no, it's
Oh, you're talking about the bond.
the ball.
Right.
I apologize,
Yeah.
you're right.
Right, this, we don't have to wait for this. I mean, that's a whole nother,
That's next
you
year.
know, I mean. They're gonna have to, I'm assuming they're gonna come, they're gonna tell us how long they're going out. I mean, we don't know how long they're gonna go out. We don't know. What the interest rate, the main municipal bond bank or whatever the school uses is going to be at. There's a lot of variables. We don't know if they're gonna get grant funding. So. Gonna be complicated. Heck of a time to bond.
Is this for information right now, or we're gonna wait? We won't vote on the mill rate.
We did not put that on the agenda,
agenda.
but I just thought this was a really good time
Here,
so that you guys are
Yeah.
in the loop, and if you had questions, Daryl was here tonight.
Always nice to have a little cushion, but pretty sensitive to some of our poorer folks. I mean, I can certainly afford a tax increase, but there are a lot of people in this town that can't afford an increase. So we're not going to take action on this today.
No, because I didn't advertise it. We didn't put it.
It
on the
wasn't on the
agenda.
agenda.
This was just for informational purposes. I thought I'd take advantage of it.
We did keep our powder dry last year. I mean, the overlay was 239 because we knew that things were gonna keep increasing in cost.
Yeah.
And it would have been, I think, short-sighted not to have something available to cover that. Consensus is these days, inflation seems to be under control if you need one source. The economists say it's not under control. So. Yeah.
So this will be on a future board agenda then, and
Yes, yeah,
we as select board will make the recommendation
Yeah.
as to the amount of overlay.
you said it.
Okay.
And the mill rate, yep. And if you have questions in between, Daryl and I are both here.
Yep. I will put out a sheet. I was just starting to look at last year's versus this year's where all the numbers changed. For instance, a big one was the Betty exempt value was 3.5 million last year. It's 12 million this year.
What's Betty? BETE.
Betty is the exempt, anything newer than 07 as far as equipment for industry and whatnot is totally exempt, and we get half back from the state.
Okay.
And
That's like the tractors that.
yep. And the big ones on there was the Agami wasn't on there, the Eel place.
Correct.
And the other was the solar field, the solar field that's not operating. They stick in under Betty, which we didn't do last year. So it's under Betty for this year because it's not operating. If it's operating next year, then it becomes exempt under solar, which is basically same diff, only
You're not talking about the landfill solar field. You're talking about the one off of
The big-
32.
we're talking the one off from
Noble Brook.
Controversy
Controversy.
Lane is the brand new one.
The brand
that's
new
being
one.
built. That was like $5 million worth of equipment out there.
They
So
go,
that's
if
why
they
that-
go next,
The equipment.
And
yeah.
the
They
other,
they want to be able to back up trucks. I'm like, that's not happening. We're not backing up trucks. You guys have a planning board approval. You can go back before the planning board, but unless you can work it out with the road association. I said, we are not backing up trucks that goes against, they put in their thing that they had a place to turn around trucks, and
Gotcha.
they've got to be able to do that. Because
okay,
we're not
so
gonna,
there's one acronym was Betty and the other one is TIF.
With a TIF district, instead of the revenue going to pay for that money can be set aside to economic development, basically. So in other words, you subtract that value that's in the TIF from what the town is valued at. Hit it for the tax rate, and then that money's set aside, and Max can address.
How flexible is using those funds?
I can talk about more at the report and stuff.
that's on our agenda tonight to talk about.
You update us anyway, don't you, about what's in the TIF you did recently, I think.
Yes, that's in the agenda.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, there, it's not gonna be a fun meeting.
If you were to go to 16, you on a $200,000 value, which is about where we went with the average house in Waldeboro after the reval, it would go up about $500 on their bill. They saw about maybe an $800 or $900 bill last year that went up, and then they're gonna see another one. Obviously, you'd be down in the $400 range if you went lower. The only other issue is those homes that sold for 150 last year are selling for 250 this year. It's just unbelievable. Mobile home, 2 acres on Castle Road, $160,000. Just unfathomable. I got 75,000 on it. So I'm below 50%.
And you haven't done the land yet,
I have not done,
only done the building so far.
I was hoping the land, but it doesn't look like it would go in the right direction, but would never be within the 10% with just doing the land. I don't know what's gonna stop, just doesn't seem to. People want homes and they'll pay the price,
People from away.
yes.
Any other update as far as sales or anything like that, trends you're seeing?
No, I can put it together and see what we're looking at, but
With sales, I just didn't know. I know we didn't have a lot of waterfront sales last year.
they're doing okay. I mean, they're coming in.
But prices are moving, aren't they?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that 500,000 on three, what was 300?
Time to sell, yes.
At what point do you think it's appropriate to factor the land into the revale process?
Well, I think we've got to do it unless we drop our ratio way down. So it'll be this year that we, this coming year.
We're at what, 90% right now?
Again, those sales that are coming in this month, we're back down to 50 again.
Is that right?
46% on that mobile home that was selling at 160, the 2000 Astro. I just don't even know, see how you fathom.
Especially the mortgage rates where they are.
It just, how do you put that price on? The $40,000 double wides, we went to 150, now they're selling for 250. I don't know where the extra 100,000, it's just crazy prices. So if we double our land values, we're not gonna come in. You know, that 160,000 single wide, there was 35,000 on land. I had 75, 35, 75 total, I think, and even if you double the land to 60, you're still coming in at 90 on a 160.
Well, I guess the balance is it lowers the mill rate a little bit.
Yeah.
Never enough to help people who need the help.
And people that have just bare land that their rate went down, now they'll be paying on the land.
Right, yeah, those people there.
Yeah.
They got a break for 1 year.
What percentage do you think we have of that, of folks in town that have land only? I know it's a tough question.
Well, no, we have the double land to build, it should be. What are my totals? I'm gonna guess 30% of it is land probably, but that's a guess. We have to. Tomorrow, they're gonna have a Zoom on the freezing that was done away with. And so that will come up tomorrow. I got copies of that if you want me to give them to them.
We have wonderful explanations of what they're doing with the freeze.
All the towns are basically ready to get slammed by everybody calling, what do I do to get freeze next year? It's like it went away. This is what you can qualify for. And most of them won't qualify, but trying to put something in with the bill explaining that went away. You're gonna get it on your income side if you make less than 80,000. And most of them all make more than 80,000, so they won't get anything.
And that to me is appropriate. The people who were getting the benefit on that were people who didn't need it.
But they got it,
They got
and now they're taking it away.
Oh, it did get taken away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they voted.
Yeah.
They voted.
They get it for this year only, and then next year they lose it again.
And the state could never have afforded
Right, that's what,
the reimbursement.
that's what I was trying to figure out when they voted for it. How
Yeah.
they gonna pay it back?
Yeah.
It's gonna come from somewhere
Raise your taxes.
to pay it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So now there's an income test, and if you qualify income test wise, you get additional homestead. It's the homestead, right? Or the.
No, it's actually on the fairness on your income tax and if you can't pay your taxes, you can do the deferred, which means you pay nothing, but there's a lien against the property and
Yeah, I was confused.
most people don't want that. The sad thing is people that don't file for income tax have to file to get that credit and most of them don't in that situation, but
Now that's 62 and over, right?
Yeah, the MMA had proposed an increase in the homestead exemption.
And that didn't go.
Apply in the legislature. I think that would have been a better way to do it, but it is what it is.
it would have been for everybody.
Yeah.
It's over.
oh. So we're gonna put this insert, it's what they're using, all the towns are using, it explains the LD 290 property tax stabilization. The two
I got
existing
copies of.
programs, the property tax relief, and then a Q&A. So we'll have, I guess, 2 pages back and front explaining just the tax stabilization.
Put that out.
The State of Maine Chapter of International Association of Assessing Officers and Maine Association of Assessing Officers. So it's already written for us. We don't even have to try to explain to somebody who does this on a daily basis. But like you said, I mean, we talked about it last year. It was gonna be a huge burden tax wise.
There's a copy of the language to just, anybody's asking about it or. It's in one of the different towns there. And it seemed to work last year to put something in with the tax bills, right? That wasn't.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Other than that, we'd have to notify 360 people that get it this year. They won't be getting it.
360 people applied.
The other issue is you gotta take what they had last year. We gotta figure out what the rate is this year, and if they didn't get veterans and homesteads because they just didn't apply and they do this year. We have to take it off at the new rate, figure out the new amount, put that in, so there's a whole other. It's
a whole
just the
other
paper.
It's a whole
So
other
they get their reduction and then take it away next.
Like you're hanging around with us for a while there.
Never a dull day.
Never a dull moment.
They'll come up with something new next year.
So the actual workload of the assessors has been increased with this.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot simpler just to increase the homestead and leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm not, they're still having nightmares trying to do the collection end of it and. There was another email saying that the prepays are all messed up and I gave it to Rose. We'll just see when we get ready to bill. And see what nightmares we have, but. Computers are great, but they.
Don't handle.
I wouldn't
all
want to be the
lists.
person at Trio who has to write the program to fix all this.
They did send us a bill for $100 for the one to do the bills, just saying to
Yeah.
work on their ends. Trying to collect a little back of all the work they've done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sure it's not easy.
They're gonna do him at the end or
He's all done,
he's done.
all done,
What after that?
all done. I think we're done.
I move we adjourn.
I second.